This is Film Center, your number one show for real entertainment industry news. No fluff, all facts. Now, here are your anchors, Derek Johnson II and Nicholas Killian.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Film Center, your number one place for studio news. My name's Derek Johnson II.
I'm Nicholas Killian.
And we are here with...
Lindsay Turner.
Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Now, I know Lindsay from working with her, and something that's quite interesting about Lindsay is that she does things with fire.
Yes. She's a firebender.
Yes.
Firebender.
One thing that we haven't had on the show yet is someone who's really into practical effects. A lot of fire stuff that you see on TV and in movies so it's really great to have you here, someone who actually knows what it takes to do stuff in real life. A little bit of background. Also, we're here at the Hand Brewed Beer. Thank you for letting us record this. We're in Chatworth right now. Lindsay, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? The audience a little bit about yourself. I know you.
But the audience doesn't know you.
I grew up here in Los Angeles, and I've been pursuing a career in art and graphic design, and I just happened to get into fire dancing because it was awesome.
What initially drew you to fire dancing?
Back up. Some people might not even know what that means, fire dancing. To them, they might not know what that is exactly.
So fire dancing is the performance art of dancing with fire, and there's lots of different types of props. There's definitely, fire dancing started in many other cultures. Like, you have the Polynesians and stuff like that, and the New Zealanders with their poi as well. So there's a long history of fire dancing in all these different parts of the world, and it's just really cool to see it evolve into a dance form that we can share with everybody.
That's awesome. So is there a certain type that you are more towards? Are you more towards the New Zealand side, more towards the Polynesian side?
I personally love to spin rope dart. That's my favorite prop. And a rope dart, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
But what style is that?
So that is a Chinese... Rope dart is actually a form of Chinese martial arts. So typically you would have a dagger at the end of your rope, and you can do all these fancy tricks with it in order to accurately shoot it or just wrap somebody else up and cause abysmal pain. We try not to do that.
And then you just add fire to it.
Yeah, so we just light a wick on fire
I would strongly encourage it.
I've given myself a black eye once before, so that was not fun. Luckily, not on fire. Not on fire. I did not Zuko myself. Thank goodness.
It's all good. What would you say what initially captivated you to start fire dancing?
Honestly, it was when my husband and I had just got into festival culture and going to these events, and we love camping and being outdoors, so it just seemed really fun to be in these places where we could be in the outdoors and then also enjoy music all weekend. And it was very common to see fire dancers on stage while the DJs were performing or even at smaller events that we went to, and I just thought it was really beautiful. And there was one day where I saw this woman named Sam Toby dance on stage, and I had never seen
a woman... What was the name again?
Sam Toby. She's incredibly talented and such a wonderful teacher. And
was she your fire mentor?
Yes, eventually. I was geeking out so hard. But I saw her dance on stage, and she just looked so powerful, and I was like, I want to do that.
I want to do fire.
I just want to do that. Yeah. It's so cool. And that was just the first prop I really connected with, and I just buried my head in the sand and just tried learning as much as I possibly could. And I've been doing it for about 5 years now, and actually spinning my rope dart on fire for about 3. Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to give myself a black eye again. Yeah, I just really did not want that to happen.
What made you choose to specialize in the rope dart?
It was just the prop that called to me the most. I just thought it was really cool. I loved the martial arts style movements because they felt really strong. I have
Avatar less everything.
Yeah, basically. It is, like I said, it is a form of martial arts. So a lot of our dance moves are based on the moves, but they've definitely been changed and altered. I can't say that it's super accurate to the original martial arts form.
Right.
Now, when you say "are," because some people might not know, who are you referring to? You are part of a group.
Yes. Yes, I'm part of two different dance groups. One is called the Fire Mingos, and our whole goal is to perform at Burning Man, which we did this last year, which was awesome. And a lot of us are also part of a dance company called Lumia Dance Company, where we do full-on productions with just flow props.
And you've done some work in different video projects and things like that.
Yes.
When it comes to fire, so as I was also in the circus, I was in the circus, which we had fire breathers and stuff like that.
Oh, heck yeah.
But I wasn't skilled enough to do it myself. What is some special tips you would give to someone who is looking to get into it possibly? Because I know there are some things that we've talked about obviously off of the show, but one of the things that you said really stood out to me was like, oh, I have to put on my makeup a certain way. Because what people don't understand is the fire. Everyone knows that fire is hot, but they don't really understand how hot it actually is, where it can melt whatever you have on your face.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't want to look like a scary goblin when I'm trying to perform for people. But honestly, it's just a lot of makeup setting spray. Usually that does the trick. It's not... Every girl knows that.
Okay, like setting spray.
Yeah.
What is some of the... You eventually did rope dart. Where did you start off then?
I started off learning hoops, and it was fun. And
What is hoops? What is
like
that?
a hula hoop?
A hula hoop on fire.
Yeah.
That sounds like it would be something you do later on.
No, I didn't start with it on fire. I had a practice one that I was learning how to do the tricks with. And while it was really fun, and I loved that I could get more dancey with it, because I do have a dance background before I got into fire dancing, it didn't click with me the same way. It was like a big light bulb went off the first time I saw someone dancing with a rope dart, and I was just, like I said, that one, oh my God. But once you learn one prop, then you eventually want to learn a whole bunch of other ones, because a lot of the movements are very similar as how you would like navigate doing it. So I've learned fans. I still play with hoop.
Once again, we are here at Hand Brewed Beer. We take Film Center on the road. And yeah, shout out to them, and we appreciate them for letting us use their spot. That's why you hear all these people in the background. As Film Center actually goes to different
On the
places.
road.
On the road. We don't like to stay in the studio.
So one thing that I would particularly ask you and be particularly curious about is the fact that you said you've been doing this for 5 years, but you said you've been doing the props on fire for only 3. Can you talk about the process of learning it and then learning it well enough to then put it on fire? What does that look like?
Honestly, it's just trying to be really consistent with my movement. Rope dart is very difficult in the sense where like I just have a thing at the end of a rope, and I'm wrapping it around different parts of my body in what we call empty knots or to do shots. And you never get it right the very first time because it's difficult. It's a string, and you don't know where it's going to land on your body if you're not familiar with it yet. You don't know.
Have you ever burnt yourself before?
Yeah, I've definitely burned myself before. Nothing super bad, but that's
just
Definitely got
that's
some
why I
love
practiced for
taps in.
so long without it on fire, so I can just kind of go into it really confident. And even now, there's still plenty of moves that I do when I'm practicing, say with my non-fire dart, that I will not do on fire yet, because I never get it right consistently.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
For the audience at home, how long would you say do you typically have to practice before you feel comfortable putting an object on fire? Like, how did you know the first time, okay,
Now I'm ready.
I'm ready to put this on fire? Or do you just have to just trust your gut type of thing?
It's definitely different for every person. Everyone will suggest get comfortable with the prop before you light it on fire, because once you light it on fire, it is definitely overwhelming the first time.
You feel all that heat coming from it. It feels different, probably.
You feel the heat. You hear
You
the
feel the
sound.
power.
Yeah, you hear the sound of the whooshing.
Yeah.
And before, when you're concentrating on your movement, the first time, at least for me, when I lit my rope dart on fire, I was like, "There's a fireball by my head." Like it suddenly felt very
How do you
different.
guys keep it lit like that? Yes, I've seen some of your performances, and it's always lit with all of your different movements. Is there something special you put on it, on your objects?
Sometimes we do. Most of the time, I just use like white camping fuel, which you can get at Big.
What is white camping fuel?
It's the liquid fuel that you would pour on a fire for camping or something. It's very common in camping stores, and that's typically what I use. Some people use lamp oil, and there's like pros and cons to each type that you use.
Okay.
And you can also add special effects on your fire if you have glitter or like other like titanium or aluminum powders that you just sprinkle on your prop after you dip it, and then it'll create some fun firework effects. So
that's pretty cool. So when you're saying, so I know that you've done some work on video also with fire. Is there any sort of special ways that you have to interact with the camera and things like that? Because I've seen some of your work, some of the Fire Mingos work, and you've also performed on stage as well. Talk a little bit about the audience when it comes to placement between the camera and fire. Like, isn't there like some sort of distances? Is there like, how do you prepare for that? Make sure you're not endangering anyone else.
Oh my goodness. It, again, also very much depends on the situation. If I'm performing at a private event or something, I definitely make sure I'm far enough away where I'm not going to be hurting anybody, because specifically with my rope dart, it's very long. The fans I perform with are a little bit more tight and close to the body, unless I accidentally let go and throw it. I can get a little closer to people with that, and some people really like it, some people don't, so I have to read the room and see how people are feeling. But when it comes to specifically our Fire Mingos videos, we have a lot of girls in our group, and sometimes we have all 20 of us.
And that's a lot of fire.
All 20 of us with all of our props on fire. And when you shoot something on camera, the lens obviously distorts what you're doing. Even though we had our choreography set and figured out, whenever we're filming, we always have to check with the camera and make sure that our lines look good, so we have to remark everything and kind of figure out what that spacing is going to look like. But sometimes we have to get really close to each other, especially towards the front, in order for it to look right.
How do you, so because, once again, for our audience listening, she does practical fire, so there's no VFX. Right,
It's all real.
It's very warm.
There's no very warm. There's no CGI. How do you prepare for that ahead of time? I know this probably is like some dance choreography practice, because I know you have background in dance. Some of the other people in the Fire Mingos have background in dance. Does that help you when it comes to placement?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
We definitely learn our choreography as best we can and have it rock solid in our brains before we go to film. We always make sure to do a practice run on fire before we film, just so we get used to it. And of course, when we're on our own, our fearless Mingo leader encourages us to practice on fire safely at a safe location, because you don't want to light anything on fire in California.
Obviously.
It's a little
Right.
scary. You just have to get used to it, especially if you're learning new moves specifically for the choreo and whatnot. And it also helps you figure out how long your prop is going to be burning for, because the time can vary drastically. So if the wick is smaller, it obviously doesn't last as long. If the wick is big, it'll soak up way more of the liquid gas. And when you're trying to film, and you're trying to do your whole performance in one shot, which is something that our troupe typically...
Is it a lot of one shots because it's on fire? Like, you have to get it right now compared to doing it take and take again, because it is literal fire.
Yes, but see, we had something really interesting happen this last round where we noticed that all of our fans weren't staying lit long enough because our dance piece was a little bit too long for fans in general.
Sounds like a math problem to keep it lit.
It is. So
I tried to get as far away as I could from math, and yet here we are talking about it.
No, white gas obviously burns the fastest and the cleanest. Leaves little to no smoke. Some people like to use lamp oil, like stuff that you would put in tiki torches, but it's a lot smokier because it's a lot more viscous. And since our fans kept going out too quickly, we decided let's make one dip station where we have 50-50 fuel. It's going to be
Dip station, what is that?
The dip station is what we call our area where we put all of our fuel so we can dip our props. We keep it very far away from wherever we're dancing or performing, because the last thing you want is like a little flame to fly off your prop and
hold on.
explode things.
Before you continue, we have forgotten to say, please do not try any of this at home. She
No.
is a trained professional.
Yeah. Please don't do that.
Yes.
That would not be good. Speaking of which, have there ever been any serious accidents while dancing in your group?
Thankfully, no. We're always very careful. We always have extra people on hand to be our safeties. We joke that many of the partners to all the women in our group are our emotional support mangoes, because we call ourselves the Mingos.
The Mingos.
So our emotional support mangoes will come in and help us, and they have the safety blankets out, and it's solely their job just to watch us to make sure that no one's getting lit on fire. And there's...
What is the protocol just in case someone's... Because I think you have to put your hair maybe a certain way to prevent wicks. What is the protocol just in case someone's hair might catch on fire?
The first thing you do is you yell out what body part is on fire, and then the dancer will know to try and put it out themselves. And then if it lasts longer than 3 seconds, then we come in with the fire retardant blanket and try and smother it out as quickly as possible.
How did you come up with 3 seconds as the time to...
Would you want to wait longer than 3 seconds if
No.
you're on fire?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. Maybe that's like a... I don't know. Just
I mean,
curious.
to be fair,
If you're struggling and I've seen a friend get their hands caught in their rope dart and they couldn't get it off fast enough.
Whoa.
And then they burned themselves, but they were okay. But all of us were like, can we jump in? Should we? And he was like, I'm fine. And then he was not fine. So we should have just listened to ourselves and just jumped on it.
and did the 3 seconds.
Exactly.
There's been, when it comes to movies and television, less and less practical stuff has been happening, more and more CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why is they say for safety. But as someone who's a professional working with fire, do you really think it's a safety reason, or do you think it's because maybe sometimes they try to cut corners?
That's a really good question. Working with fire is definitely expensive because you have to make sure you have the fuel, you need to make sure you have all the safety people, designated space in order to be able to dip, or however you're going to light your stage. It probably depends on the production, but if you can do it digitally, then that's cool too. But
As someone who works with fire a lot, what do you think of some of the digital fire that you see? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Because I know that a lot of my friends who work in VFX, they're always complaining that fire isn't liquid exactly. But in Blender and a lot of different
It's
VFX
hard to
stations,
recreate.
it's very hard to recreate because it's like this plasma effect. So they always complain that they never get that when they say they never get water. You know what I'm saying? Would you suggest that maybe they just try it practically, or would you say it just depends?
I think it depends, but also as an artist, I feel like I never do certain things exactly the way I want to because there's like a picture in your head of how you want it to be, and if you don't reach it, then you're going to be very self-critical.
Also, fire's unpredictable.
Yes, fire's also unpredictable, so that's probably another reason why people would like to create it in for effects rather than actually working with it, because you don't know if an accident's going to happen, and God forbid something really bad happens, especially if you're working on like a crazy feature film and you've got, all sorts of pyrotechnics going on.
Also, one question that I would have for you, speaking of not getting fire quite right as a digital effect, now that you have been doing it for a considerable amount of years, whenever you're watching something, can you spot the digital fire and then when they're doing legit practical fire?
Sometimes, I'm not an expert in VFX at all, but sometimes you can just tell it looks bad, and it's usually pretty consistent throughout whatever you're watching.
Do you prefer to see real fire over the VFX fire?
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Does it take you out of the movie? Since you are so proficient with fire, does it suspend the suspension of disbelief?
Yeah, does it
while you're-
ruin the movie for you?
Yeah, does it ruin the movie for you now that you're a bit of an expert in firebending?
If it's done really badly, then absolutely. It's almost like when you watch a foreign film or something and you speak the language and you realize that the subtitles don't actually match up to what they're saying. That's the experience of seeing bad fire in a TV show or movie. You're like,
That's not exactly what it's
point
supposed
the
to be.
finger at it. Like,
Right.
no.
Because
So, people who don't know, Lindsay also speaks German. So
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So she's also bilingual. Lindsay, when it comes to your firework that you've done, is there some of your more, because you've done both theater and you've also done things on film. Do you have a preference?
I really love the video productions that we make with the Firemingos because we always do our audition video for Burning Man, but then we make a super conscious effort to make a more creative version of our video. And I feel like that's where the magic really happens because that's where we get a lot of the storytelling. Because when you perform at Burning Man, you're not going to have your own music. You're not going to be wearing the costumes because you're out in the middle of the desert and there's no place to change.
Do you make your own costumes?
We do. We pretty much make all of our own costumes. And
That's incredible.
we put on the whole production with just our own money. We don't really... We fundraise a little bit, and that was mostly to help us with filming locations and stuff like that, and we've definitely had a really supportive fan base, friends and family who helped us make our dream come true this year, and it happened. I think they're still in the process of editing the video right now, but hopefully in the next month or so, our new film noir-inspired show will be out on YouTube. That'll be really exciting.
That's awesome.
In terms of production as far as firebending, I'm going to call it firebending.
That's saying bending.
That's totally fine.
Because that's what I can equate to it.
It's not coming out of my hands, but I am manipulating what direction it's going in, so it works.
Have you seen that on YouTube where that guy, he hooks something to his wrist? I forget what it is, because it's not a canister exactly. But he puts this sensor on it where you can push your hand hard enough, it does shoot out fire.
Oh my
Do you
gosh.
think as someone who does a whole bunch of fire stuff, you would use that?
Oh, absolutely. Can you imagine someone who can fire breathe and then they could just Spider-Man their next move?
That'd be awesome.
Because if you're fire breathing, normally you have a little torch that you keep lit on hand so you can relight yourself, but it's probably not safe if it's a giant flamethrower on your wrist.
Probably
There's
less
probably a
safe.
better way of doing that, but
Probably way less
still be
safe.
cool.
Yeah.
In terms of film production, is there anything that we, the audience, don't realize about what it is you're doing?
I think one of the biggest things for us, especially with our audition video for this year, is that you see the pieces come on and come off and they do their stuff. What you don't see is the mad dash on the side of everyone redipping their props, changing their costumes, helping each other in and out of things. It looks like something's happening on stage and it's beautiful and fun and effortless, but you just don't see all of us on the sidelines. Oh my God, I have to get to my next piece in time.
You gotta rush off and redip it or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So you basically have a NASCAR pit crew on the side.
We're each other's NASCAR pit crew.
Gotcha. Okay.
The fire safeties only make sure that we're not lighting ourselves on fire because they're just there to watch and make sure everyone who is on stage.
The people who
Once
do
we're
the
off
fire
stage-
safety, are they firemen or who are they?
Like I said earlier, a lot of them are our friends and family, our emotional support mangoes, or other friends. And typically they're also fire spinners because they know what's up and they know how to stay safe and they know exactly what it's like to spin a prop too. My husband loves to help out and be a fire safety, and he's only touched a prop for funsies, but he's always been very supportive of wanting to come with me to my gigs and making sure I stay safe, and he's been an excellent spotter thus far.
A fire spotter? Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about? Okay, cool.
Because I have lit my hair before on fire, and it scared the audience, and I just had to keep smiling, and I was like, oh, that's nothing.
It's only fire.
And you were just like, holy crap, my hair's on fire.
I put it out really fast because there's a very distinct burning hair smell, and you hear a sizzle, so I just swiped my hand behind my head as fast as I could, and then didn't hear the sizzle anymore, and I was all fine.
Is there any... I know that you have a whole bunch of little techniques and tricks that you've developed over the years. When it comes to fire breathing, because I've seen one of Lindsay's performances, and in one of the performances, there was a little girl screaming for you to eat this giant rope dart, even though it was huge and impossible.
Oh, gosh.
But there's a lot of people who listen to the show who are either in the industry or trying to get into the industry, and that includes people who are armory. Mm-hmm. An armorer's job is to make sure that everyone's safe when they're doing these type of effects.
Yep.
Is there anything that you can tell to eating fire? Because I know there's a lot of indie productions out there where they want to have fire breather or hire a fire breather. Is there anything out there that they should really know when they're doing those type of things?
A fire breather is definitely different than a fire eater. First and foremost, because it's a whole different set of skills. knowing what it is that you really want out of the performance will be key for who you're going to be hiring for the gig, what safety measures are going to be involved, because it's going to be different depending on how much fire there is, what the kind of prop is, how many people are going to be involved. So making sure you know those differences is always good. And the fire community are just absolutely wonderful people, and they'd be happy to explain things and help out. And
Whenever I saw your performance last time we came here at the Hand Brew Beard Bar in Chatsworth, I asked you, because I myself was curious, how you looked like you were eating the fire, and then I asked you how you did it. Could you explain to the audience how you did it?
that's an industry trade secret.
Oh, it's a trade secret. So.
No, but there is certain technique involved so you don't hurt yourself. Sometimes you can burn the inside of your mouth a little bit, but you have to find a good teacher, and you definitely need to practice before you ever light it on fire.
Do you like spicy stuff?
I do love spicy stuff.
Do you think that helps?
Do you
when
think
you're
that
eating fire, does that help
contributed
with
to you?
spicy stuff?
Definitely not. It's not the same kind of burn, but we do like to joke that our wicks are just spicy marshmallows.
That's funny. There was
Danger mallows.
Danger mellow?
There was a moment after the performance in which you helped some of the kids were really interested. You do stuff with the kids. You explain a little bit about when someone who's a literal child, when you're doing fire things with them. What is that?
I obviously wanted to be really careful, and I didn't want to give it to the kids without the parents' permission. I made sure the parents were cool with it. And it was just fun introducing them to fire dancing in a very small way. So I have these really tiny props called palm torches, which you just put on the top of your hand. There's no string, there's no crazy technical moves that you have to know in order to enjoy yourself and play with them. You still need to be very careful and do not light things on fire without safety personnel or a blanket or things
Some
involved.
sort of precaution.
Yeah. You never want to spin fire alone. That's one of our biggest rules in the fire community is you don't do it alone because God forbid something really bad happens and there's no one there to spot you or...
You're just on fire.
Yeah, then you're just on fire alone somewhere.
It's horrible.
That
That's horrible.
Just
awful.
skin burning.
Yeah,
Just
no.
crackling.
No, we don't want anyone to be a toasted marshmallow. It's not fun.
Hello.
Or a burnt marshmallow.
Are there any movies or shows that involve fire that's, I would either A, love to be the person doing this, or B, this, they really got that right. Because there's a whole bunch of fantasy shows on TV like that. Like, for example, Game of Thrones, their dragon
Right.
breathes fire all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, not realistic. So if there's any movies or TV shows where, dude, this looks awesome, and I would love to do it if I could.
I love it when I watch these different fantasy shows, and whenever there's some sort of festival or night of celebration going on, there's always a fire dancer in there somewhere in the background of the scene, every single time. And every time I'm like, ooh, what trick are they doing? I want to, dang it, we moved away. You never really see them for very long, so it would be cool to see more storytelling that involved fire dancing, in a sense. I'm definitely super stoked about the new Avatar coming out soon.
Hopefully they do it well.
Hopefully.
They will.
The
They
cast looks.
must.
We don't talk about the other movie. It does not exist.
Right. Would you love to be a firebender in this series if you got a chance?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like it fits my personality totally.
Well, we'll definitely get you in contact with the new Avatar people so that we can have... I'm just kidding.
I was going to say,
My heart stopped for a second. I was like, oh my God.
I didn't know we had these powers. You didn't tell me what.
Do they need someone for their rap party? I don't know.
Right.
That won't be on film, the rap party.
No, but I could perform for them.
You know what's really interesting about when there's a lot of indie productions that try to use fire when it comes to explosions, or they try to use it for whatever crazy reason they're trying to use it for. Is there anything that you would say is probably a bad idea when you, because fire can go wrong so many different ways. I know there's a lot of people who try to do things with explosions, but that thing is, you do fire dancing. Mm-hmm. And it is really hot. It's not fake, and it's really close to your skin all the time.
Yeah.
Is there a certain amount of time that you can be near it before it's, okay, this is a problem?
If you can definitely get overexposed, and I've had this happen to me before where my fans got too hot and we're trying to reshoot the scene over and over again because fans that are not moving get hot very quickly because the whole frame is made out of metal. So if we're just holding it steady.
Oh, they're metal frames. I thought they were something else.
No, they're metal. And the flame is pretty close to your hand, like at least specifically with fans. So I have been holding on to them while we were waiting to shoot something, and my hand got too hot, and I've had to throw them down because I was like, I can't take this. And after that, because I was already burned, I was more sensitive to the heat. So it definitely got harder to keep going eventually.
So burning actually makes you more sensitive to it.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
We've got the red skin that's starting to bubble.
You have to keep the motion going so that it's not as hot.
Yes, that's usually ideal, but that doesn't always happen when you're trying to do a choreographed piece and you're trying to get different camera angles or something, and we try and not light the prop until we're absolutely ready to go. We always have to wait till the very, very last second. And even then, we can't wait super long because the gas on your prop can start to evaporate, especially if it's really hot outside. Temperature and weather will definitely affect how long your prop will last during a shoot. So that's why we've done things like mixing the different types of fuel in order to get a certain effect and make it last longer and stuff like that. But
she mixes fuel. She's a chemist.
We've had to learn.
Neil, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there any advice that you give to someone who might want to do what you do?
Definitely reach out to the community if you happen to follow someone online, or just you can even find Facebook groups of meetups of people wanting to teach lessons. There's lots of stuff that goes on, especially in Los Angeles. And I personally highly recommend it because I've made some of my best friends these last 5 years through this community, and it's so supportive and it's so wonderful because we all just want to have a good time and be safe.
We're going to also watch the Fire Mingos.
Yes. You can find the Fire Mingos on YouTube, and it's the Fire Mingos, all one word, no weird punctuation in between things. And yeah, we've got a few videos up there of previous, basically productions that we've done. We have a Star Wars and Alice in Wonderland fusion-inspired one. Last year, the Fire Mingos did this incredible show called The West of Oz, which was really fun. Just a very Western-themed Wizard of Oz story.
Wow.
Dorothy had rhinestoned red ruby cowboy boots.
Super cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. And Lindsay, once again, it's been awesome. And I must stress, do not do this at home. She is a professional. Please do not listen to this podcast and be like, oh, I'm going to be a fire master now. Like she said.
I'm going to be a firebender.
Right. She is a professional.
Please find a class or find someone you know who does do it and start learning slowly from there if you really want to.
Guys, this has been Film Center. I'm Derek Johnson II.
I'm Nicholas Killian.
And we are here with
Lindsay Turner.
And we will see you next time.
See y'all.
Bye.
This has been Film Center on Comic-Con Radio. Check out our previous episodes at filmcenternews.com. Sign up for our newsletter and get the Hollywood trade straight to you. You can follow the show at Film Center News on all major platforms. Tune in next week for a fresh update. Until next time, this has been Film Center.